The 2023 Everest spring season is over, and Alan Arnett explained the whole story in one sentence on his blog. If there was one word to summarize the season, it would be chaotic or perhaps deadly. In fact, this spring was the deadliest season in history on Everest.
But we will see later why.
Nepal issued a record 478 climbing permits to foreigners, in total around 1,200 people, between climbers, Sherpas, and porters. Fears were rampant of a 2019 repeat with long lines and deaths. About 600 reached the summit, around 50% of the total permits with support. The queue never developed, thanks in part to colder weather that sent a higher number of climbers home in mid-season, many with a persistent virus. However, the deaths developed, but not because of the record permits or climate change.
This may not be the actual cause of these deaths, because the top of the Everest is very cold every day, but we will see this later also.
China resumed issuing tourist visas in late March, which was too late for any foreign operator to run an expedition. Because of the pandemic, China has been closed to foreigners. 16 Chinese climbers summited from the Tibet side. They were performing maintenance of the weather station installed last year near the summit. What stole the headlines were the seemingly daily reports of rescues, frostbite, missing climbers, and deaths. The root cause of the chaos is still elusive. Some blame the record permit numbers, inexperienced clients, and low-cost operators. Nepal government officials cite climate change. Adventure Consultants Managing Director Guy Cotter, who has been climbing Everest since the early 1990s, noted, "As to frostbite, it was a very cold season, the coldest my staff and I have ever experienced. We had 2 Sherpas suffer from frostbite, which is the first time in 30 years that we have ever had any of our Sherpas suffer frostbite." But Lukas Furtenbach, the founder of Austrian-based Furtenbach Adventures, noted that most of the frostbite could have been avoided by using professional weather forecasting services and avoiding risky weather windows. He added that modern-day gear could be enough for the low temperatures around -25 on Everest. Cotter noted, "The number of rescues was unprecedented, with probably 200 flights to Camp 2 over the season." Cotter noted that some of the flights were used to transport gear, in some cases even climbers to and from Camp 2, something the Nepal government explicitly prohibits except for medical resources. It was clear that many of these flights were actually being used to transport equipment to C2, and climbers were regularly flying out from C2 as opposed to facing the icefall. Helicopter activity over base camp is continuous from dawn to dusk every fine day. Another headline from the season was a series of thefts at the South Col. Multiple companies reported the theft of cooking gear, tents, and oxygen bottles.
Oxygen that always very asked on Everest.
But not only oxygen bottles vanished on Everest. Reports of missing climbers became a regular event. Malaysian Harari bin Hashimi, 33, and Indian Singaporean Srinivas Sainus Dattare climbed above the balcony but went missing on May 23rd. The Himalayan Times reported that Janakpur-based Ranjit Kumar Shaw and his Sherpa guide Lakpa Nura Sherpa have been out of contact since reaching the South Summit on May 25th. In terms of death as a percent of total summits, 2023 comes in at an estimated 2.7%, 17 out of 600. Suppose you look at years with relatively low summits and high deaths. In that case, the percentage increases. For example, in the infamous 1996 year, with 98 summits and 15 deaths, making it 15%. So if you compare years with significant summits, say over 500, 2023 tragically stands alone. But why so many deaths? Some feel the cause of the deaths lie with inexperienced climbers joining low-cost operators. Garrett Madison, the founder of Madison Mountaineering, weighed in on their Everest climber qualifications. "We require climbers to have successfully completed several big peaks before joining us for Everest, such as Aconcagua, Denali, Chimborazo, Choi Oyu, etc. I've seen a trend where companies say, no experience required, anything is possible." Again, Adventure Consultants Cotter, "Seemed to me there were many people with little or no real mountaineering experience who got stranded when they got tired or ran out of gas, and there was no backup for them. The operators supporting those climbers still have a mindset that they are merely providing expedition services and not guiding these people, and therefore feel no sense of responsibility for them. Phil Crampton feels there's little incentive for Nepal to make meaningful changes. I don't think Nepal really cares who's climbing on the hill these days. It's all about the money received for permits, silly liaison officers' expenses, and the bribes they receive from Nepal agencies so they can secure a climbing permit. There are obvious ways to address safety that would have little impact on revenue. Modeling best practices from other mountains like Alaska's Denali or Argentina's Aconcagua, safety could be drastically increased and lives potentially saved by stationing a permanent rescue team at Camp 2 for the entire season, as they do on Denali. Also, rotating rangers at South Col to watch for theft. So maybe it's time to institute a requirement that every Everest aspirant has summited at least a 7,000 meter, 23,000 foot peak. China requires any Chinese citizen to have summited an 8,000 meter peak before trying Everest from Tibet. They don't have a similar requirement for foreigners. Another safety measure could be reducing the number of Sherpas allowed to support each climber would reduce mountain traffic and encourage more self-sufficient clients. But operators would argue that more Sherpas make climbing safer for their clients. Finally, increasing the climbing permit fee from $11,000 to $20,000 would reduce inexperienced first-time climbers with low-cost operators.
And you? What do you think about? Write on the comments. Share, subscribe, and see you in another video. Bye.